Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, so finally I'm in. Have you listened to the yesterday's lectures? I had sent two very small lectures yesterday.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we will continue some general discussion today. We we are not going to learn any new algorithms in today's lecture. Actual algorithms, we will start post Diwali. But we last week maybe I sent an email about Feynman's learning technique. Am I right? Did anyone bother to read?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, what was the technique? What did he describe as technique for learning any complicated thing?
Firstly, understand the concept,
Mm-hmm.
and teach the concept to others who don't know about it.
Correct. So, teach the concept. So, learning any concept properly can be achieved via teaching, because while studying on your own you may feel that you have got everything, you may feel that you have understood everything, but unless you start teaching it, unless you start explaining that thing to someone else, you don't realize how shallow your understanding is. Okay, so that's why it is very essential that you talk, you communicate, you explain the concepts to each other, you explain the concepts to random people that you come across. Okay, so most of you told that okay, data mining can handle large data sets. Yes, one of the advantages of data mining over the traditional techniques is the amount of data that it can handle. And in fact, that is the reason that over the past few years data mining has gained lot of importance, because computational advancements have made us comfortable with handling large sets of data, and sometimes handling such large sets of data can actually help you in getting unexpected patterns. So it is not necessary that you, so see, in traditional statistics generally you have to know your question in advance and you have to frame your question very well, whereas in data mining sometimes you can have a slightly vague question. Of course you have to have some objective, you can't do data analysis without any objective, but your question may be slightly vague and still you may come up with some interesting insights. Or sometimes looking at the data, mining the data might yield some interesting conclusions which could help you develop better strategies for either your business or for your own personal life, etc. Okay, so what all can people do using data mining? Traditionally, most of the data mining exercises are tried and tested over very classical data sets like the Titanic data or the IRIS data. So, what is Titanic data? Many of you might have seen the movie Titanic, right? So, in the Titanic, there were many people, many of them died, some of them survived. So the data set has characteristics of each person, their age, gender, then at which, what was the category of seat in that ship, and so on. So were they first class passengers, second class passengers, or so on, and then whether they survived or not. So the typical supervised classification techniques are generally tried on Titanic data or iris data. Iris data we have seen in multivariate. We have three types of species of iris flowers, and then we try to find patterns in petal width, sepal width, etc., and try to determine the species. So these are classical data sets on which data mining techniques are tested. But of course, people have used techniques from data mining in many worlds. So, for example, a couple of years back, one student, actually, she was a student, so not in our department, some student from US. So, she used cluster analysis to develop recipes. So, recipes in what sense? So, she was a student, so she had limited income. So, she wanted to make sure that with that limited income, also, she can have decent and delicious food. So, she listed recipes, listed their ingredients, and did cluster analysis to see what all can be cooked together, maybe one after the other, so that leftovers from one recipe can be used in the next recipe. So she saves money, she saves food, and still she gets nice things to eat. And of course, the nutrition aspect is also there. So people can use cluster analysis to design their food choices. Recommender system, all of you must have experienced. When you go for any online shopping or any online streaming website, you get recommendations, and most of them are pretty decent recommendation. You actually end up buying some of those things, or you actually end up watching some of those movies or um, television series. Okay. Then, now with Android phone, you might have seen that whenever you try to type, your phone tries to autocorrect. So in many of the cases, the phone is using your own dictionary also. Means, of course, it has its built-in dictionary in it, but it also uses your typing patterns and then suggests you something as per your typing patterns. Gmail gives you prompt suggestions. In fact, many a times I actually use those suggestions. So I start typing a sentence and Gmail completes the sentence for me, and it completes as if actually I have myself written the statement on my own. Okay, so all these are now results of data mining. Typical initial example is, of course, classification of emails into spams and updates and forums, etc. Then Gmail can actually find out your engagements and add those to your calendar. So someone sends you a Google Meet invite, Gmail automatically adds it to your calendar and reminds you at that time, hey, you're supposed to attend a meeting. Okay. Or if you're doing some search on Google, even related, you will get related articles. So even in Google News, you get articles as per your own reading pattern. For example, because now Google knows that I read things about Pune University, every day I'll get at least one or two articles related to Pune University. Because Google has now detected the pattern that whenever it shows me an article related to Pune University, I am prompted to read it. Similarly with analytics, it shows me articles related to analytics. It shows me articles related to job openings. Why? Because it is analyzing my reading pattern, which generally no other technique would have traditionally done. Okay. And sometimes it can also discover some unexpected patterns or some patterns which we may not realize that they exist there. Okay. So there is one very classical story about it. They say it happened in real life. We don't know whether it happened in real life, but probably it did happen. So some big chain store from US, probably Walmart or something like Walmart, they actually once sent. So many people shop at Walmart, right? So it's like our other marketplaces in India. So many people go there every day. Thousands of people shop for thousands of different objects, and then you get, some of them get coupons or discounts on certain products depending on their, again, this is again based on your spending pattern. So if you tend to spend in one category, you are more likely to be offered a coupon so that you are likely to buy that object. So one teenage girl from a high school in US actually got some coupons for baby products. So maybe crib or diapers or something like that. And her father got very angry that my daughter is still studying in a school, and why is Walmart sending her specific coupons related to baby products. So he got angry and he went and he started shouting at the manager of that whichever was the nearest branch, and he started shouting at the person, and the manager was of course just politely what do you call, apologizing, because he said fine, sorry, it might have been a mistake, etc. But somewhere at the back of his mind he was thinking that no, our algorithm may not do such a mistake. Okay. So, and it turned out that actually the girl was pregnant and father didn't know, but Walmart knew. So how would Walmart know? Somehow from her spending pattern it got detected. From whatever things she was buying, it got detected that she could be possibly pregnant. And in fact, it was so accurate that people, I mean, this incident actually of course created issues related to privacy and all those stuff. So what they started doing next time is they did not stop giving such coupons, because of course these coupons buy them business. So they did not want to stop that. But just to give people a feeling that the coupons are not personalized, that the coupons are generic, what they did was they purposefully inserted some useless coupons in the same box. For example, if they are giving discount on baby products, they purposefully included coupons for say beer or wine, which they know that okay, people are not supposed to drink, so that people would feel that okay, the coupon is not directed exactly towards them, but their purpose was that. Okay, so sometimes such patterns can be detected without even you knowing what patterns it is detecting. Okay, another example is from numbers. Again, I have shown you some episodes of numbers. So what happens is the FBI is analyzing some thefts, recent thefts. So in every theft, what has happened is some antique piece from that house gets stolen, and it's a very expensive piece. So only that piece gets stolen. So the thieves. So it's obvious that the thieves plan their acts in advance. They know which houses are going to have such big valuable antique pieces, and they target only those houses. So these people are trying to find out what is common in all these homes where the thefts have occurred, so that what tells these thieves that okay, these houses are going to have antique pieces. So they collect data on multiple things. For example, whether these people have say same laundry, or do they fill same petrol at the same gas station. Is there some employee which is common who might have this information? In fact, some of these antique items are cleaned and polished, so do they give it to the same repair shop where it can be cleaned and polished? But no, nothing, no common pattern emerges. So they are just searching, there should be some common leak from where these thieves are getting this data. And then they decided okay, they'll just conduct random information about everything that that those people can tell. So they ask them hundreds of questions and then let the algorithm run, and they discover that all these antique pieces, because they are valuable, they are insured. But the thing is, initially they feel that okay, then the insurance company might be same, but no, they have different insurers. Then it's not leaking from the insurer's database. Then what happens? Then they go one step above, and then they realize that even though the insurance companies are different, the reinsurance companies are common. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the concept of reinsurance. Reinsurance comes in picture when you are buying an insurance for a very large amount. So for example, see, if there is say natural calamity, for example we had tsunami. So when there was tsunami, of course insurance companies would have lots and lots of claims together, and generally insurance works on a purpose that one or two people face losses out of say 100 people who are paying premiums. So if suddenly number of people who are facing losses increases, or the amount of loss that people are facing increases, then the insurance company itself might go bankrupt. So for such unforeseen incidences, which are very rare, insurance companies many a times buy a reinsurance. So reinsurance can be of different types. So for example, if the amount of loss exceeds certain amount, then the reinsurance company would pitch in. Say for example 100 crore. Then the reinsurance company would pitch in and pay whatever excess amount is there. So anything above 100 crore, they'll pitch. If in a say certain year, such thing is there. So, and the thing is, we don't even know the reinsurer because customers don't come into picture. Insurers approach reinsurance companies directly, and then they get insurance from them. So customers don't even know that their policy is further covered by this reinsurance. So same thing happened with these houses. They did not know that the reinsurance exists, so they did not tell anything about the reinsurance company. But somehow the data mining captured this pattern that all these antique pieces were insured with different insurers, but those insurance companies had a common reinsurance company, and then they could find one ex-employee of that reinsurance company who could have possibly gotten the list and who could have provided that. In fact, he was part of the team of thieves. Okay, so these types of patterns can be detected by data mining, and hence data mining has turned out to be useful compared to other techniques, because sometimes you don't even have to know what you are looking at, and still you might end up getting something interesting. Okay, in fact even in classroom I told you in the last lecture that I gave assignments in data mining. So we have, students have analyzed data related to sports. For example, they have analyzed data related to cricket, kabaddi. Then they have analyzed data related to Hollywood movies, Bollywood movies. They have analyzed data related to census. So all these different types of data sets could give different interesting insights with the help of data mining techniques. But while doing all these things, you have to remember that it is not either or. So when you are using data mining technique, it doesn't mean that you should not use traditional techniques. Traditional statistics is also a data science kind of thing because you are handling data. So you can very well use your t-test or f-test or regression that you learnt in BSc, or in fact you should use the visualization techniques that you learnt in BSc and then try to get more insight from the data. Okay, so even when I give assignment, I actually tell people that you don't, in multivariate I specifically say that okay, you should use multivariate techniques, but in data mining I tell them that you are free to use anything. You can use techniques that you learnt in BSc, you can use techniques that you learnt in MSc, in this course or in some other course, anything. The final interest is in getting the solution to the required question. So what techniques you use, it is not a concern. Of course, it should be a correct technique. So you should use the correct techniques, but as long as your techniques are correct and you have applied them correctly, it doesn't matter which techniques you use. Okay. So you should always remember this, that when you are learning fancy techniques, do not forget your basics. Okay. Because you are supposed to understand the logic behind that technique. You are supposed to understand the concepts behind those techniques so that you can, if you know the mathematics behind that technique, then you can modify that technique when needed, or you can decide whether that technique is apt at a certain place or not. Okay, it should be used or not. Okay, you should not blindly use the technique just because it exists. So that's where your specialty comes, that's where you can shine. So please make sure that you understand the logic and mathematics behind the techniques that we are learning. For most of the techniques we are going to discuss the mathematical background. Please do not ignore that. Okay, because a 10-day crash course can fetch you jobs, but if you want to survive in your jobs for long term, then you need to know the mathematics behind it, you need to know the concepts behind it, and for that you need to have your concepts from BSc cleared. So you have 1 week of Diwali. I know you have many other things to do in Diwali, but please try to revise those concepts. Please try to make sure that you understand them well so that you can assimilate these new techniques faster and you can relate them to each other. Okay, so today let me stop here. Thank you.